YouTubers, Mike Martins here, Mike Martins channel. Guys, I got a really short, it's a very short email, and somebody messaged me, wants to keep it confidential, but wants me to share the story, and it's very simple. Basically, times got desperate, and I purposely got myself put in jail, because it was better off. So Buddy sent me a link, and it's not the person in the link that they're describing in the article, but he wanted me to read this because he just saw that people doing time in prison, let's do time and blah blah blah. But is life behind bars better than freedom? That is a really good question. So here's an older article that he sent me and asked me. He's in this situation. I don't want to read the article at whole because there's too much personal information in this article. So it says, with close cropped hair, he's got tattoos crawling down his arm, more on his fingers, his soft spoken, almost inaudible at times. And at that moment, he's having second thoughts about agreeing to this interview. He is the guy, after all, who wanted to go to prison. This briefly made him something of an internet sensation. Last December, he told the judge that he had demanded money from a convenience store clerk for sole purposes of getting himself sent back to prison. The story hit regional newspapers, and the Huffington Post wrote a snarkly recap of the case. So remember, this is not the guy that sent me the email. Somebody else sent me this email and says that he's done several prison stints, especially very recently, because of the fact that it might be how desperate does someone need to be to get to put themselves into a prison situation, because they're better off being property of the state than managing it themselves. But while the headlines were good for man bites dog tail, an obvious question was ignored. Now, this is why this article was sent to me, is because of this. How does a man reach a point in which prison seems like a more attractive option than freedom? That's a very good question to ask, guys. In the question, Blank's attempting the varying degrees of success. To answer now, to visiting a stranger with a pen and notepad, he worries that he won't be able to adequately explain things that led him to the point, that he'll end up sounding stupid. In his seat, he fidgets and starts to speak, tries to start again. I don't know what I was thinking. It was one of those things where I kind of gave up, and then he drops the bomb. The truth is now that he's here, and he doesn't want to be. He grew up in a town located outside of Arkansas. He was adopted, blah blah blah. His father tried to talk some sense into him, and when he was 16 and 17, he committed his first burglary. At 19, he was serving his first prison term. Over the course of the next 2 decades, he would spend totally near 14 years in prison. And then, basically, after being discharged from prison several times, he's noticing that he's having a really time making ends meet, really hard time with blending in with society. Now, okay, they made movies about this, they talk about this, and, people getting released. Now, let's go back to the email here. And he's basically saying, Mike, let me just get to the point. There's way too much personal information here. Let me just scroll down. Okay. Hold on. Give me a second here. No, the wrong page. Let me scroll down to I highlighted it, and it's in another page here. 1 second. You can see the reflection of my sunglasses. So it's basically, where to go? Okay, here it is. So basically, it's in my Gmail. Give me a second here, guys. Okay, it says basically, Mike, I've been speaking to inmates that have purposely got themselves put into prison. I sent you this article to read because I feel many men and younger men are finding dead ends or creating a distraction in life to kind of pass the time here in a jail cell. A lot of them can't afford a house. I watch your show. I know what you're about. I know you're the real deal. You are truly a family guy. But how desperate does a man need to get to incarcerate himself and disconnect himself from reality? Could this be a new trend? Several people I have spoken to while being incarcerated have purposely committed crimes to go back to jail. What do you guys think of this? I mean, this is really scary. This is really, it's paragraphs long. But basically, Buddy has been telling me, he's been out of jail now for 2 years, and desperation kicks in at times. It's like, how does one kind of deal with this problem? How does one basically come to terms with themselves and get to this point of desperation that maybe being behind bars might be a better option? Guys, this is really scary to think this. To think that being put away is better for you. And basically you become property of the state. You become property of the province. Or in Canada, it's really hard, I think, nowadays to get incarcerated. I just read an article where people were on camera robbing a place for 45 minutes. Guy committed arson and burnt one church to the ground. Another one committed arson on to try and burn the churches down. No one's doing time for it. Nobody cares. Well, people care. I care. I'm really broken about some of this stuff that's been happening. People breaking into cars and stuff, but no one's doing time. I know a guy in town, like, hear me out. He got clubbed almost to death. 23 stitches up on his head, staples. 23 staples up on his head, broken jaw, and he was attacked by a homeless lady with 2 golf clubs with his back turned one day. And this guy's not a sketch ball. He's not someone. He was clubbed big time. And if anybody's following this or this and that, and they want to say, no, Mike, you're lying. I'm going to come and see you at your store. And you told me who this guy. I'll tell you who he is, and I'll let you go talk to him. I'm not going to say his name, but if you think I'm lying or making this up, I'll let him tell you the story and show him all the scarring. If you think I'm just making up stories. Yeah, clubbed almost to death. And he had to get ambulanced out to another bigger city because they couldn't handle the amount of damage here, and they charged him a couple of $100 for the ambulance. So let me know what you guys think. How desperate does someone need to get to basically be put away, or to put themselves away, so they could, Today's a lot of thought thinking. I'll do some articles, but a lot of thought thinking, because everything, when you start connecting the dots, it's a pretty grim reality. Guys, don't forget to check out my mugs. I got some new mugs with Morning Coffee with Mike, Raven mug there. I'm going to work on a Supreme Cannon mug or a Supreme Cannon t-shirt. I'm having a really tough time doing anything that has anything with words that depict, I guess, weapons, if you want to call it that. Let me know what you guys think. Comment below. Lots of love, guys. Remember, guys, stay strong. Eye on the prize. Think positive. Always be there for each other. Being there for each other is the key. Love your neighbor. Just love your neighbor. If you love him, hey, life is just so much easier. Have a good one, guys.